Hey, everybody. Good morning. It is March 5th in the rainy Northeast US. I'm Chris Gomez. My co-host Rich Ross is right here with us. How you doing this morning?
Doing well. I had to turn on two lights this morning, so I'm not getting any light from the outside. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow. Yeah. You know what? As you can see, this room is all lit up. It doesn't take much for me to look like I'm in the dark. And, the executive producer is right here over my shoulder, making sure that we don't miss anything today for you.
He's fully attentive.
So, yeah, he's monitoring everything. So, what is our show about today? If you've been following along, you know that we have been replicating for the .NET audience, I would say, this cool little sample that I liked called Build a Pizza Ordering Agent with Foundry and MCP. I loved this sample using Microsoft Foundry and using Model Context Protocol Server and a lot of neat features there. The workshop is great, and it's all in Python. And Python is great. But I'm a career .NET developer, so I said, how does this work in .NET? And if you've been following along, you'll know that we have in the show notes, we got a link to the Dev Talk Show's repo, Pizzabot C#. And we are slowly building up to where this will be a complete workshop that I think probably very likely will be presented at Philly.net.
Nice.
So that's our local user group here in the Southeast Pennsylvania area. And so where are we at? If you went to go get this repo today, you'll see the Visual Studio project that we're about to look at. We've got some instructions now, and what this is not quite the same as the workshop repo, because what I'm driving towards is sort of an iterative approach for somebody who maybe is just not doing the workshop but wants to learn a little bit more about agents. So we have 3 projects. We have one called Create Foundry Agent. I may be changing the name of this to like Create and Run, because all 3 of these run the agent. Host the agent, is that communicate with the hosted agent in Foundry, maybe, is what I really want to say.
We have to be careful of the word hosted.
Okay, yeah.
In Foundry, there is a concept of a hosted agent that really focuses on, if I understand right, a container running in Azure Container Apps.
Okay. What I could really use here is a diagram that kind of is like, here's what's going on. Because what we do is we create a console app.
Yeah.
The console app connects to Foundry using a Foundry project client. That's something we have in the SDK. Once we've done that, we can either create an agent. When we say create an agent, that's a little different than we think a lot of times when we're programmers. We're getting a reference to an agent created, an agent version that is defined or declared in Foundry based on our code. But then 2 of our projects don't create the agent. 2 of them just use the existing agent.
Right.
But the console conversation loop is happening here on my machine. But it is making REST API calls through the SDK out to Foundry to do things like communicate with the deployed LLM, get answers back like, hey, you should call your function tool. And when it comes time to contact the MCP server, here's what I actually haven't thought through, is whether that's still happening here locally, or if I think that's happening in the cloud, right?
Yeah. I mean, really the only thing that's getting touched in your console code is once it's started, is your tool, if for whatever reason it needs to come back. Anything else, because in that Foundry agent that is up and if we opened it up in Microsoft Foundry and looked at it, we would see that it has the index, so it can query for documents. It has the MCP, so it can do all the ordering capabilities and interaction with that process. So there's our bot. Yep.
Okay. Yes. So the file information is here in Foundry. And to say it's here in Foundry isn't exactly correct. Foundry is this kind of like, I'm taking care of the infrastructure and design for you. You don't have to think about where this is.
Yep.
You don't have to think about, don't worry, I know where the Contoso Pizza MCP is. And this MCP was provided by the people who created the workshop. But man, we've got a lot of exciting stuff today. If you've been following along, I think it's exciting.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I will say, so I've actually, I did it with a customer yesterday, and the Pizzabot is the demo I'm showing now when I do this.
Okay.
Well, this makes sense. It's got all the right pieces. It works. Yes, it's not a totally business scenario, but everybody knows how to order pizza, so they can all relate.
Right. And that's exactly why I was drawn to it, is that we'd even had conversations on this show about like, isn't there more to AI than chat? And that demo from AI Dev Days really locked into me. Like, and even on this show, we'd built, we'd use Azure AI Search to create a base of knowledge to connect to and talk to. But it really got driven home with that demo for me personally, which doesn't say anything about the demo that you made for us, Rich. It was awesome. But like, there was something about something about ordering pizza, right? and that the act of like, hey, it placed the order for me. Right. I've called and ordered a pizza before. Boy, that was a long time ago. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was I ordered pizza on the app, right? Because nobody's calling to order pizza. Come on, it's 2026. Well, I'm not even sure I'm ordering on the app anymore. Aren't we saying, hey, whatever you're, hey Google, hey Siri, okay Siri, order me some pizza from, and it just does it. So I am not, people who've watched several in this series may be saying like, hey, you've run through the code a million times, so we're not going to do that straightforward. We completely through, but we have create Foundry agent where we define everything about the agent and then call a method, create agent version. And what I have noted in using this is that if create agent version's definition isn't really different, then Foundry doesn't create a new version.
Okay. Yes.
I found that. If I make a small change, then it does.
Yeah. Same thing happens in the portal, right? I can go in there, I can interact with it, I can do the playground stuff. But if I don't make any changes, I don't have the save button lit up.
Yeah. Cool. There were two pieces about this that always kind of bothered me. One was what it takes to define your function tool. It's not that defining the function tool, like obviously I have to tell it I have a function. Here are the parameters it takes. Here's the description for what the parameters do. If it's a string, because we are in the JSON web API land, do I want to constrain it a little bit and say, look, I know it's a string, but I'm expecting people to say one of these three things. All of that makes sense to me, but here's what was weird to me. As a career C# developer, I look at this and I was like, I feel like my JSON got into my C#. That's just how it feels, right? So let's mental picture of that.
Yeah.
Second,
I mean, there's just real quick, there's nothing programmatically wrong with C#. All that is structure, right?
Yes, I mean, that's right.
You move the curly braces up a line. We still did the same thing by when you knew something up, say, here's some properties and we'll populate them here instead of having separate lines.
Yep. Oh no, this is absolutely C# code, but I think
visually,
maybe my point will make sense when we it's not that there, it's fine. In fact, it looks very much like the declaration up in Foundry.
Yes. Yeah.
So then in our loop, where we loop with the person using the agent to go around and around and see, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to order? We also have this section, the loop to handle function calls. And the only purpose this loop exists for is that when the agent responds, not with an answer for the user, but with a request, like, can you call the function for me and tell me what happened? That is all being handled somewhat manually, or not even somewhat manually, right? We're detecting that the function call was requested. We are calling the function for it, which is happening right here. And then we are creating a response to put back on the output stream. Maybe that's not the right term. So that the agent can say, okay, you said to have 4 pizzas, whatever. So that all works fine, but I always felt, couldn't it be better? So this is a project that we have not looked at here on the show before. Okay. You're going to see it's very similar, but the major change is we've added one or more NuGet package here. I want to go to the project file.
Okay.
Everything we've been doing so far has been with Azure AI projects, which is part of the Foundry SDK. And it's this.
Well, and Foundry SDK. Yes.
Yeah. I've had trouble with the
naming.
But I think if we even get,
if
we go over to manage NuGet packages.
Yeah, you're right. If you said Foundry SDK, you go to the docs, you're going to see those things in there. Yes.
Right. Here we go. Provides Microsoft Agent support for Foundry agents. Microsoft's Agent AI, I think, which is not here. It's considered a transitive package because what I really did is I included this larger one, this one that I needed, Microsoft Agents AI, Azure AI. But Agents AI, Microsoft Agent Core functionality, and you know what? No, not agents. I wanted projects. Sorry. See? AI projects.
There you go.
Right. So did I say that backwards a second ago? I might have. No, Azure AI projects. Projects is the thing that sticks in my head.
Yeah.
It's the word projects that sticks in my head that says to me, connector to Foundry.
Yeah.
But then we also have this Microsoft Agents AI, and this part of it is important, but Microsoft's Agents AI is the base level package for Agent Framework, which is more agnostic, supports many different targets, including local targets, which will be cool to talk about. But I included this one because even though the name of the product is Foundry, it used to have a different name. And this is still the package that says, I'm Agent Framework, but I got the extensions for Foundry too. Extensions may not be the right word. I can talk to Foundry.
There you go.
But just by including this package, I'm also getting this one.
Okay.
And so that's all kind of cool and important. I'm also getting something else in here too, which I think, I believe, I'm pretty sure about, is a separate package, but yet is included transitively. So let's get rid of, we don't want to look at Create Foundry Agent anymore. Let's take a look at this new solution project, which is, it's on GitHub right now in the show notes. Agent Framework. So I might rename this. Maybe it's like Use Agent Framework, something like that.
Okay.
Because these 3 projects, this one will create the agent if it doesn't exist. This one, it better exist or it's not going to work. But they essentially are the same library usage. This is the one where we're bringing in Agent Framework.
Okay.
So bring in Agent Framework. How does it look? Everything looks pretty similar to people still reading instructions the same way. But look at this thing. Define the function tool. So that whole declarative structure to say what I wanted is now spread out. And that may bother you at first, but I'll tell you why I think as a .NET developer, I go, but this makes more sense to me. And defining the tool that we will then add to the agent or tell the agent exists becomes one line of code that just feels a little bit more right. Like, hey, go create an AI tool based on this method, this static method, pizza calculator dot calculate number of pizzas to order. Where does that come from? I'm pretty sure that if I comment this out, we will see that it didn't come necessarily from the Agent Framework, which is Microsoft Agents AI. It came from Microsoft Extensions AI, which is the Microsoft Extensions for AI, MEAI. But it's getting included because Agent Framework builds on top of that.
Yes, exactly. So MEAI is the primitive, I think they call it.
Yeah, right.
It's the underlying base class stuff that orchestrations and other frameworks can use to build upon for their thing. That's what Agent Framework did.
We've been running into that a lot over the last couple months as this has been a journey for me in that Azure AI Projects builds on top of the persistent agents client library, which is a library designed to talk to Foundry, but at a very, like you said, at a low level, the REST API level. When you make the calls, it feels like you're making the REST API calls almost transparently. And the idea behind Azure AI Projects is to say we have some abstractions for you.
Yep.
Same thing with MEAI and its relationship to everything, including the agent framework. So agent framework, I love this. I love this. And this was my comment a little bit earlier about like, how did the JSON get in my C#? Right. Like so how does the rest of it work? Well, let's go. What do I have to do to my pizza calculator now?
Yeah. One thing before we move on, because we're talking about agent framework, just really quick.
Yep.
Agent framework is the successor, or, if you will, to two products that we had. Well, one was a product, one was something that came out of Microsoft Research. Semantic kernel, which you may have heard, we used it when we did the Hello Dolly application for doing the interaction for generative AI. So that was around. That was there was a 1.0 release of that, and then there was also this product or this application or tool called AutoGen, which was a way of doing this generative AI. Multi-agents is really what it was. Agents calling agents. And what they did was they basically put the two of them together and made this version called Agent Framework.
Right. And we haven't even gotten into multi-agent orchestration and stuff yet.
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just realize, what is this thing you're talking about? It has its roots in semantic kernel, but it is really the next iteration of that by combining AutoGen with it.
And it just hit release candidate 3 last night.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Wow, that was cool. They only had release.
Yeah, release candidate 2 was like a week old.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know.
Wow.
I had just, if I've done this correctly, I believe we will see that I'm on release candidate 2 for the agent framework. I actually think I'm a little behind on this. So I'll look into that. And when I say this is Azure AI Projects, which is the Foundry portion of it's a Foundry connector in some respects.
Foundry SDK. You got it right.
Foundry SDK. Yeah. I mean, you can do more. I can connect to Foundry projects. I can administer Foundry, which I've already done stuff like that, which I think is interesting. We haven't done it necessarily live on the show.
Right.
So yeah, seeing Azure AI and agents everywhere, it takes a little while for the brain to be like, okay, what is what? But I've also been learning to let go and not try to stress too much about where everything's coming from. I think it's important to have a base understanding, but you've probably watched me evolve to where I'm like insistent on coloring inside lines. And I've had a chance, to talk in the open Discord, the Discord for Foundry, which is a great Discord. And I mean, heck, if you could walk in there right now and see me asking these questions, and they're kind of like, yeah, think of it as a symbiotic relationship, right? Like you can use this to administer, and then you can also get your agent and then use this. So why do I like this? And let's go to the pizza calculator. And it's because you also use attributes, plain old attributes that come out of system component model. They're not specialized Foundry or AI attributes. You could use these attributes on this same exact model for your EF based project, right?
Right.
So I love that. And this is where you get all the descriptions for the particular parameters that we were putting into the declarative nature of building up that object in C# to create the agent. Instead, this to me, and I'd love to hear what people think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think, Rich. This feels like what we've always done.
Yeah.
So it just felt more right. So
yeah, I agree. I think between the decorators, the description blocks, decorators, right? That's what we call them.
Yeah. Yes, just decorating it with attributes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those are that's how we would expect to write this as a C# developer.
Yep. So now here's the next part that's really cool. let's go down to the console loop where we are taking input from the user and we're asking for a response from the agent and then printing that response out for the user. Now it all fits on one screen and I haven't zoomed in or zoomed out or anything.
Right.
And it's just so natural. We're saying, you say something, let me read it in. Let me check and see if we can be continuing. Should we go on with this by like, did you actually say anything? Or did you give us one of the exit commands? I mean, none of this is agent stuff at all. No. This is just gathering input. Then we say, go ahead and run this user input, the session that we're in, to maintain conversation history, and give me an agent response. It's all done. Like it has taken over what we were doing manually.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the difference between kind of where we were a little lower level, working with things that were, Azure SDK, Foundry SDK, some of the primitive stuff. And when you have a framework that understands agents and the connections to agents and the things that you are going to need to have agents work, it just makes it that much, it abstracts away all that code for you.
Right. So the highlights here are, for me, is moving forward, agent framework. We have our base to kind of show folks, hey, I do think it helps understand what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see maybe what's the experience like if I create the agent with agent framework 2. Is it better, different, maybe not that different? I don't know. I don't know that it's really that different, because this is the AI project client out of the Foundry persistent, that connects to the Foundry persistent agent service. I don't know how the code would be that different just because I'm using agent framework to once the agent's created, I use agent framework to do the work. But I haven't totally investigated that yet. So we'll come back and we'll see what we get out of it. But obviously this is all going to do what we want. I think,
and I think where you were going, because it was funny, I had a conversation with a colleague of this yesterday where you could use Foundry, Microsoft Foundry, to create the agent and sketch out what the agent is. But but then because I want to have it run in a container and I want to be able to scale and do this kind of things, I could use agent framework to call that scaffolding that I created inside of Foundry.
Yeah.
And then now I've got that living over there. So if I need to make changes to the prompt or whatever, it's easy for a business person to kind of come through, or somebody on the development side, and be able to change that prompt and run evaluations to make sure that it works.
Because the important thing about agent framework is, and I'm trying to be careful about the terminology, it's a more agnostic view of the world, because it doesn't just let you work with Foundry.
Oh, absolutely. Good point.
Yeah. We could deploy an agent to a container, own that infrastructure ourselves, and use agent framework.
Yep.
We could also use a really cool product called Foundry Local.
Yes.
And do everything right here on my own machine, which will be a show.
Yes. We will take that.
Yeah, we will do that. And then, of course, there's an entire world of multi-cloud. And I know you probably talk with folks every day saying, hey, we love you guys, but there's a business strategy sometimes to be multi-cloud, right?
Absolutely. So, every predominant number of customers have the multi-cloud strategy going. So it's always
So agent framework, you're kind of ready as far as I can tell. That would be, all of that stuff is interesting. So here we are. This is the agent framework, Contoso Pizzabot. What can you help me with? And you know what I find interesting about even asking this question is when we go look at the conversation, I believe, and we've already looked at this, is that the agent takes a look at all its tools,
right? Yeah,
and instructions, and says, so what can I do?
Exactly. That's the first thing. So when it makes that call to the MCP server and makes the connection to it, the first command that gets fired is, all right, tell me, I'm now connected to you. Tell me what tools you got. So that's kind of the initial handshaking, if you will, from that MCP connection.
Folks have already seen us go through this before. We say we want to order a pizza. It's calling the MCP server now to retrieve pizzas. The instructions say to not give you more than 5, I'm pretty sure. What I found interesting about this, though, is that I think there's 16 pizzas in the current MCP server that's hosted up for us by the folks that made the agent workshop.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's 16. And I said, and so one time I said, well, how many other pizzas do you have? And they gave me 5 more. How many other pizzas do you have? And as I said, like, do you have any more pizzas on your menu? And it says, yeah. And then it gave me all 6. So I wonder if the agent made a decision, the LLM made a decision that, okay, if I give you 5 more, then I just have to give you 1 more. So we're good, you know? It's just interesting to see how it thinks. So, and anyways, here we go. Margarita pizza. I like the idea of ordering margarita pizza. I have 7 hungry software developers to feed. We know this is going to go and call our local function tool. Chose heavy appetite because I said they were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard about these user IDs. This particular implementation requires you to, where did I end up? I did not end up exactly on there we are. I need my user ID. The user ID is, and my name is Chris. And this should get us to ordering. Order is placed. That's also using the MCP server. And as we've seen a few times already, here, Chris's order, 3 pizzas. It's the MCP server. Basically, this particular dashboard is communicating not with the MCP server, but with an API. So there's already in this theoretical example, Contoso Pizza has a pizza ordering API. The MCP server is to provide tools for agents, and then it consumes the API. Well, this node-based website also uses the API.
Okay.
In order to get these updates. And in fact, if I remember correctly, it's polling out to the API. The version we come up with, if people don't know in the audience, is we're going to re-implement all this in C# and make it available. And at first, maybe we'll just kind of follow their lead. But at some point, I'm thinking we can use server sent events, or maybe we can use, I don't know, maybe we can use SignalR or whatever's appropriate. Server sent event sounds good to me, though, because it's not bidirectional. In any case, so that's it. That's the slimmer agent framework based version, which you're starting to get to the point where more of the code surrounds configuration, getting the agent, and that the actual implementation of the conversation loop, in order to have the multi-turn conversation, we have an agent session.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's starting to become so incredibly readable that, like, for me, my brain was able to say, yeah, I really feel like I understand exactly what's going on.
Nice.
So cool. One of the things that I know we wanted to look at was, for example, we just did that whole order. So that conversation here from 8:12 a.m., not so bad.
Conversation ID, which is interesting.
It's interesting that, I think maybe I just have to connect. Is this new? Is this new? Because we used to be able to just click on this.
Well, right? So this is the agent framework one, right?
Oh yeah. But I can't even click. Interesting.
Yeah, I think you have to connect each one.
Oh, look at this. So this is me. You can even tell. This is March 3rd, March 3rd, March 4th, March 5th. This is me figuring out agent framework side. But previously we could just, so somehow this is wired up for us using with the other technique I did with mostly with the I don't
was it the use or was it the create?
Let's go take a look and create. But see, create, it's still using the same agent. We did not change agents.
Right. But it's how we connect, I would think.
I suppose you're right. Well, it's the AI project client. And then perhaps, like you said, create agent version. the agent definition. I'm not sure. I mean, we're getting out. Yeah, this is all still using Azure AI Projects. That is the Azure AI Projects is the Foundry SDK, right?
Yes.
So when we're getting the agent out of that. And let me head over to use existing agent, where instead of saying create agent version, we use get agent, but we end up with an agent record still out of Azure AI Projects. So I think you make a good point that because I'm using agent framework, perhaps there's another step. Agent framework is agnostic, right? These two know they're talking. They know they're talking to Foundry.
Yes. Yeah. And I think if you probably do that connection that you were looking at.
Oh, yeah.
That might kick those off. So you don't have an App Insights up. So go ahead and create new.
Yeah, we've never done any of this. This is cool.
So you got a name for the App Insights. It needs a log analytics workspace. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Create new resource. Fine.
Okay. So now if you go ahead and run your...
And do it again. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
but that would be my thought.
Yeah. Let's do that one more time. Okay. So let's quit. And then we'll run the agent framework. That's a good find. I knew we were going to do this, but I didn't try it myself because, it's the Dev Talk Show. Why wouldn't we do it live?
Yeah. Well, I am surprised, right? Much like you, it's in Foundry and it worked if I'm using Playground or I'm doing some of the SDK stuff. So why does the agent behave differently? And is this going to be enough, or is it still going to behave differently?
The main thought process I have right now is when we created the agent, it was done with the agent framework SDK pieces, whereas the other two projects, whether it's creating the agent or using the existing agent, are using APIs out of the Foundry SDK. So there might be some code tucked in there that's like, I know how to wire it all up.
Right. You probably want observability. I'm just going to turn that on for you.
Yeah.
Whereas on the agent framework, we might need to do that ourselves.
In fact, and I think I've seen some samples that do exactly that. So maybe that was it trying to warn me. And then let me see. I like how this time, non-deterministically, I get a different listing of what we can do. It even knows about the function tool. It understands what the MCP can do, all that stuff. So I want to order 3 pepperoni pizzas. And that'd be interesting if it just does it and we're out of here. It does confirm it. They're $14 each. Sure, let's do it. And then that should let's go see if it gets us some trace information. Okay, cool. So this popped up.
A trace ID.
These trace IDs are still, but this is what we were clicking on before. Oh, actually, you're right. We're clicking conversation ID. So maybe I have to set up a conversation somehow. But it is saying execute tool. So it executed get pizzas and to basically say, hey, here's, I wonder, here are the pizzas that I have. And then the agent decided what to tell me. Okay, so it got its instructions. And here is the pepperoni pizza costs $14 each. Let me confirm your order. This is what we just did.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. We're in a different window now. We're in the traces window versus conversations, right?
Yeah.
These traces are popping in.
Huh. So each one of those should be part of the back and forth, right?
Yeah. So it's almost like agent framework was handling the multi-turn part of it, but it's not a conversation in Foundry sense. And maybe that makes sense. Maybe Foundry has a conversational concept, first class concept. When I say this, I want to make it very clear that I'm not 100% sure because we're learning with you here, but first class conversational concept. So using the Foundry SDK, it gets built right in. And, but here it's saying like, hey, we're going to execute the tool, execute the tool to place the order, and it did that. So that multi-turn conversation that we had seems to be broken up into the individual traces.
Yeah. Which even that way is
wrong.
No. I mean, that's kind of because of the App Insights being turned on now. So you're kind of saying every time you make a request in, App Insights is getting a record. So it's recording that trace of that record as opposed to bundling them all up in a conversation.
So here's the next place to go here. And I'm not sure if it's something we'd want to try live or next time, is here we are in the agent framework version of this. I would say for the first time, I am beginning to see why we have these different SDKs that work together. Because if you've been following the show, or maybe if you're someone like Rich who's been talking to me offline, they know I've been banging my head against the wall trying to like stay within one road or another road.
Mm-hmm.
But now it becomes more interesting to me as to why maybe I shouldn't care so much, because maybe I can take the Microsoft extensions and bring this over to a console app that uses the Foundry SDK, because that's what this is out of. I'm sorry. AI project client, to create or to use the existing agent and get all of that conversational stuff for me. But then when I actually get the agent, if I can then turn that into, because notice that the agent that I get back here is not a chat client agent.
Right.
If I can get that to a chat client agent, which comes out of Microsoft Agents AI, not out of projects, now I'm back in agent framework. I can maybe add the tool. I'm not 100% sure. Create the agent session, maintain conversation history. What happens? Can I bring all that together? And I don't have that answer today.
No.
But I thought it was really interesting that we were going to come over here and see the conversation. And I learned something today. I learned that you use one set of tools and it comes up with trace IDs with App Insights is logging this for us. And then with conversation ID, I don't know if that's the same mechanism or if it's just part of the SDK.
Given that it just in the Foundry playground, it does that natively. I'm going to say it's part of the Foundry SDK.
Right, because the project client, and I know that this term keeps coming up because Foundry used to have a different name, but this is the AI project client from the Foundry SDK. We are in the Create Foundry agent version of our samples, and we're basically saying create a project conversation. So I believe what I'm getting at now is I get it. Agnostic library, more specific library. It's okay to mix them. They're designed to work together. Microsoft Extensions AI helps them work together. So definitely learned a lot there. But there was one more piece I know that you wanted to look at is we have our playground where we could use the Pizzabot here. Except for the local function call.
Yeah.
We have our traces where we learn something. We have monitor, and we also have evaluations. One thing I want to point out to people is if you're wondering how much this costs, like I've been paying attention to me using this monthly now for about 3 months, and I'm not holding back, but I'm not also released it to the world. It's just me. And I keep getting costs for bots that are like in the pennies with tokens usage that kind of blows my mind a little bit. Like, oh, really? That's something else we can look at. Sometimes I'm starting to understand how token usage grows as the conversation grows.
Yes.
But then there's also evaluation.
Yes. So evaluation being the right way to say this. So evaluation being the unit test of generative AI, if you want to think about it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some test pairings or some test cases.
Okay.
So think about what we've been doing here. You've been typing content into that chat interface, and that's the user's input, right? Or what we might call an utterance, if you've been doing some of this chat conversation for a while. That utterance, you have an expected response of what that utterance should be, right? So if I say, hey, I want to order pizza, you should expect the bot to ask, well, what's your user ID and name as one of the first things it comes back with. And then what kind of pizza do you want? So that combination of what you're putting in and what you're expecting back, that's almost like a unit test, right? I'm expecting that if I have this input from the user, I expect this output from my code.
Okay.
But in the generative AI sense, or even if you were to do a unit test, right, you have what you're going to put in, what you're expecting to get out, and then you have what you actually got out. So in this case, what is the actual response from the model to this utterance that I've put in there? So now I have two things I can compare. I can compare what am I expecting to put in there, or what's my expected response versus what I actually got as a response. And you can have another model compare the two and say, did it really answer? I'm seeing some weird things happening on the stream, so I'm not sure if it's local or if you're hearing me okay. Okay.
I'm hearing you okay, but I'm not sure if my machine I think maybe my machine got CPU hammered for a second there. Maybe it's better now?
Okay. It looks fine, and that there's no more spinning circles. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I get what you're saying is like when we write tests, whether they're unit tests, integration tests, whatever, it's all very deterministic. I'm giving this input, I expect this output. And in this evaluation is like, well, I'm giving you this input and I expect you to give me something either similar to this or following these rules or guide rails or guidelines. Like if you were training an employee to take the order on the phone is, hey, we always say, thank you for calling Joe's Pizza Shop.
Right.
Is that kind of exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah. So when the conversation starts, the bot should answer, hey, thanks for calling Joe's Pizza Shop.
Right. So that's interesting because we could maybe figure out how it's not doing that today. And then we could add to instructions and see if we can get that going in a short amount of time.
Everything's driven off the prompt.
Yeah, exactly. So how do I start? Do I create an evaluation? Which we can't quite see. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. So we hit create.
Yep. I just wanted to show is that our mugs were over top of this. So that's why we added, way back in the day, we only had this.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people said like, hey, I kind of want to see the whole screen. So then we had this. And then now we have this. So,
so the evolution.
Let's go create.
Yeah.
And the
and then what is it that we'd like to evaluate? Are we evaluating the agent itself? Or are we evaluating the model? Or are we evaluating a data set? So I would say, go ahead.
I was wondering if I'm looking at this conversation and thinking about what we can ask it to do and make sure. But so that would be an agent evaluation if it's about the conversational piece?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we can do is we can say, all right, we're gonna evaluate an agent. We'll hit next. And then how do we want to, what's our test data, right? What's our utterance and our expected response? If we have that in a spreadsheet because we're, maybe we've already got an existing chat application that we're trying to, move towards a generative AI endpoint, then we could take those sample utterances and expected responses and include them here. We don't, so we could hit generate. And what generate does is it pops up and says, hey, you tell me a little bit about what it is you want me to generate, and I'll go ahead and create it for you. Now, I would typically do this as a couple of sentences because I'm demoing it and just kind of show it. But maybe if you have access to a GitHub Copilot, we can go to GitHub Copilot and tell it our use case that we're trying to generate test data for and have it generate a prompt to then, so what we're using is Copilot to generate the prompt, and then the prompt to have this model generate the test data.
Okay. That's cool. I like that. Now, I'm not sure. What am I looking at here? Let me just make sure that I just don't have a key sitting in my console. Yeah. I'm just going to make sure. So let me get a brand new console, and then we'll get back to what we were doing.
Okay.
And you're saying that maybe let's see. I'm gonna move. I'm not that I necessarily need to move to the folder, but we have the GitHub Copilot CLI.
Yes, that would be perfect.
I guess we could have also done this maybe in Visual Studio, but this is okay.
Yeah. When I set up an evaluation for a demo I was doing, I did it in Copilot because it just worked.
Okay.
This Copilot CLI. So
yeah, and we want to test the Contoso Pizzabot, but what's
what are we?
I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot as to what we're saying here. Yeah.
So we're just going to describe it to Copilot, right? So if you, it probably can hear me. So if you did a Windows, well, if you do Windows 8, you can basically talk to it. But basically what we want to tell it is, hey, and maybe I can go back and look up for the prompt I used before. I've got a Pizzabot that I want to create an evaluation for, and can you generate a prompt so that I can have Is that you typing? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That was me.
So that generate a prompt so that I can have a model create my questions and expected responses for this Pizzabot.
Okay, I don't have to say like, okay, that was even like more loose than I expected. I thought we might say something. Can you make sure it solves these problems? But
you could. So what?
Well, I was trying to think of what we wanted. What do I want to say? Is
what can the so think about the things that the bot can do.
Yeah.
Some of the questions should include things about pizza locations, special pizzas at these locations. Providing my order. Those, all of the use cases that we kind of run through in the test here, or as we've been testing this out.
Yeah. All right. Maybe that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is is this meta prompting? We're telling.
You're right. Yeah.
We're telling a model through GitHub Copilot CLI to create a prompt about creating utterances, expected responses, and generating that test data for us around these use cases. Now, could we have, I think we could have said, well, don't generate the prompt, just generate the test data. But I think what we'll see in the prompt is there's much more information than just these 2 or 3 sentences that we did here in the window, essentially, from our
now. I think I made this worse because since I switched to the Pizzabot directory, it's like, well, let me take a look at the Pizzabot code.
Yeah, there is that. It does want to do those kind of things.
So Copilot's like, I mean, why don't I could have said like, don't do that, right?
Right.
And I could even still interrupt it.
You could.
But I'm wondering, if it's going to go for it here. It looked at a few knowledge files. Look at this, man. It really went for it. Now I have a good picture based on what I've seen. The knowledge files contain information. The prompt I create should I mean, look, it's really going for this. And then I'm playing with it, so it's kind of messing up the. Here we go. So
it looks better. Yep.
Here's a prompt you can use with any model to generate your evaluation. Weird though, because I feel like it answered it, but where can I find it?
Well, I think that's it.
Hold on. Here it is. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things about the GitHub Copilot CLI, I like it. I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably positive as can be, that it's using Spectre or it's basically mucking with your console the way. Boy, that really takes me back, because that's the way it was in the DOS world, is you had to do. But what I have happened to me sometimes is, as it's scrolling, it seems to confuse Windows Terminal, or maybe it's just my machine. I don't know. And I get these really funky outputs like you just saw. So here we go. It's basically telling us everything it came out with. So this is it. You're an expert in AI evaluation design. Your task is, is this the prompt, or is this? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
How to use it. Okay.
Between the dashed lines, right?
Yeah. Okay. A few things you may want to customize. Interesting. Okay. So I even love how it says, hey, maybe you want things to work a certain way, but that's cool. We've only got a few minutes left. So as they say, beggars can't be choosers. I'm copying this out so that I know for sure that I've got it. Okay, cool. Yep. So I've got this big prompt, and I can head back to here.
Yep.
And I can do this.
Yep.
90 rows is fine.
Just give us like 30 rows, 40 rows, something small.
Okay. Whoops.
It's okay. Generate.
I did. Yeah, I did that. I hit enter, and enter made it go away instead of, I don't know, maybe doing nothing. Okay. So confirm.
Yeah.
All right. This is interesting. I can't. There's something else that people may not realize, is when we go to implement what I guess I can only call the back end, which is this dashboard plus the MCP server plus the API. If you haven't guessed, I've already started looking at the TypeScript version and the Node version. And what I didn't realize is those pizzas that you see when you say, hey, what pizzas are on the menu? That's not in the code base. They didn't sit there and put in margarita and put in pepperoni and put in buffalo chicken. They didn't do that. As part of building the site, there's because this was all done like a node based, right? Part of the script to build it says create a JSON file using an agent to come up with a menu of 10 to 20 pizzas. And it came up with 16. And come up with 10 to 20 toppings. And I don't remember how many there are. But I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I can't get my brain to stop of like, oh, well, in order to use this, I'm going to have to come up with a data set.
Right.
And what you do a lot is you say like, well, why don't we ask the AI to come up with a data set? All right. So we have this synthetically generated, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't think it's done yet, but if you hit next, that's fine. We can accept these. This is just basically tools that we're going to include things into, as it goes through and does it, right? So we don't have to include the index. We don't have to include the MCP if we don't want to, but I think it's good for the overall functionality. So we'll next here, and we'll go ahead and say submit.
Okay. So go ahead.
This may take a little bit.
Oh, okay. I guess then maybe I'll go ahead and ask the question. Oh, no, look at that. I was going to say, all right. I thought, is it going to monitor what we do from now on? Or is it says, hey, I can look at what you have already?
It's not. So what it's going to do is it's going to do a couple things. It's going to create a data set of utterances and expected responses. And then it is going to run through giving those utterances to the actual pizza agent and seeing what response comes back. And then from that response that comes back, compare it to what we expected it to respond with and say, how close was it to what we asked? Did it go off topic? Did it provide the right response? And then from that, it'll give it a score. And then it'll also include, because we didn't turn anything off, it'll include other potential, hallucinations that might happen when it comes to things like hate or self-harm or things of that nature. And you'll see all that output when this gets finished. So we might have to start there next time, but that's kind of where this will go.
So that's interesting, because it actually leads into a point that came up when I was at yesterday's open discussion on the Foundry Discord.
Okay.
Which I should really put a link in the show notes to, because if you're not in the Foundry Discord, they are doing community events almost every day. They're not always .NET based, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yesterday's was somebody showing the AI toolkit extension in VS Code, which we will be using on this show soon. And what I found interesting is a discussion that I started broke out about function tools.
Okay.
Because this person had an MCP server that was built to expose this fictitious company's API to basically turn it into a travel agent. And after all the wrestling that I've done with function tools, including the wrestling you've seen me do today and so on and so forth, I finally just asked the question, like, in your opinion, is it better to just create an MCP server to host something that might have been a function tool versus wrestling with function tools? Now, nobody was going to say, oh, absolutely every time. We all, because we're all experienced, we're all going to say it depends, including me. Yeah. But there was a little bit of nodding like, yeah, and I think that comes into play here, because this evaluator can't call our local agent to calculate slices of pizza.
Yeah, those tests should fail.
Right. And so one thing that I had on the roadmap for our future was to, when we recreate the MCP server with tools for to basically bring this to C#, was to consider or just go ahead and implement the pizza calculator there.
Yeah.
And get to a point where we're out of this business of worrying about a local function. And I don't know, it was just something that I was thinking about. So it's almost like, here's another piece of the puzzle, is if you're in Foundry and using evaluations, well, it's evaluating right now.
Right.
And it's not going to do well if that's in the data set, which we don't know. I don't know if it's easy for us to look at the data set. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe you can.
You will be able to see the data set with what was uttered and what was expected.
I mean, I'm just going to click on this link here and see. I mean, if it's not here, it's fine. But to your point, it's coming. It's something I can look at soon.
Yes.
Cool.
And you can kind of see some of this if we go back into, and maybe we can, use this to wrap up on, because I know we're kind of getting late.
Yeah.
Back to the agents. And you click on one of the ones that we could do in the chat conversation here, whichever one that is.
Okay. Well, I mean, any of them.
Okay.
They're all basically the same at this point.
Right. So if you ask it the question, hey, I want to order a pizza, blah, blah, blah.
I've also found that when I mess up with typing, I used to always be very,
interesting. Because of your model is throttled.
Oh, okay.
Because we're using the same model. Do you have any other models?
No, I don't. But we could deploy another model and switch it real quick, right?
Yeah, you could do it right there from that window.
Oh, can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, shows what I know.
Go to agents.
So here, this agent here, I click here. I kind of wanted to pick like a mini one.
Yeah.
Minis are tiny. In fact, I will tell everybody, I am probably going to switch to like GPT-5 mini or something in our implementation. Just because I don't know that we need, like, I don't know. I'm just not sure that we need unleaded.
Well, so this is
full strength
into, right? Is that you could have one model, run
Sure.
through it and see what it is, and then run another model and compare the models and not the agent and see which one's better.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So see what the problem is I'm too busy thinking like the old ways of, well, I don't think I need, this jet fuel
right
model. And what you're saying is, let's test it.
Yeah.
We have the tools, we have the technology.
Now it's going to give us a response. Now see the evaluating there right in the center? And it just switched to AI quality. So if you click on that,
this isn't the same.
It's not, but it's doing
agent.
it because you're in Playground. It's actually evaluating on two things: the intent resolution. What was it you asked, right? And did the response meet what you were asking for? And then task adherence. Did it go off the rails and respond with things that weren't focused on the task?
That's cool.
And it scores it. And you can see that for each one of the, at least in Playground, those are the two things it does with every response.
It's okay. I'm just curious now, right?
So the intent resolution failed. The assistant's response acknowledges the user intent to order pizza, but fails to address the actual request about fixing a bike.
Now, in some respects here, it might be that the evaluation data set doesn't have a use case to say, look, when the user goes off the rails, this is how you should respond. And maybe it could be, maybe there could be a better response here. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, addressing that, just that, hey, they may have a problem, but you're really here, focusing on order pizza, right?
And also that I can't break out of it, for example, which I don't know. Like maybe I shouldn't be allowed to break out of this. And it says like, yeah, why don't you go down the street to such and such? So I understand that it's not getting scored well, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean it's doing poorly. It's just that the test isn't properly saying, look, it's staying within the lines. So that's what we want.
That is,
but I did that on purpose just to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little, a little cranky. But it was cool.
Yeah, it completely ignored the bike. And it scored 100 points on that. So
yep. This should be interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Give me city or address. Well, pick the one closest to me. Okay, fine. I'm in Pennsylvania. And it's picking Washington, D.C. But okay, cool. Huh? It kind of is just like, okay, sure, whatever. But yeah, let's and the user ID is, and I have that ready to paste in. At least I thought I did. There we go. And it's getting scored. So this is interesting. We've used this Playground before, although maybe not super extensively. But what I think is really interesting is we are finding out what model we used, how long did it take, the incredible number of tokens that this is all taking.
That's nothing.
Those numbers seem big to me, and I know that they're really not. Yeah. And the reason I say that is I go, well, there aren't even 4,042 words here. And I'm not even sure there's 4,042 syllables here. But that's okay. The token part is something like I've seen the slides and I'm still learning. And then when you see what the cost per millions of tokens is, you kind of go like, oh, okay, no big deal. Yeah. But in any case, I'm getting good scores.
Yep. Not only the scores, but you can see what it used. So it did file search.
Yeah. Right.
Got the turn the document that was related to DC and then into the MCP.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. I could learn more about what it actually did. MCP call to get pizzas, get the different pizza types, blah, blah, blah. The file search, I needed to click here. I can see what it did. It looked through the Washington, D.C. one. In fact, I guess it might have looked through all of them. Maybe that was to figure out. I don't know for sure.
It probably sorted them.
Oh, I see. Right, because DC came up first. So you're telling me it might have sorted them by, well, Perth is probably not the next closest.
Yeah.
Boston, though. New York. Okay. Interesting. All right. And, and the pizzas are ready. And then, of course, we can see that my order is here. So, I mean, that stuff's all still working.
Yeah.
Which is good. All right. That's cool. Wow. I learned a lot about another part of this that I had no idea when we came in here today. The evaluation part, and not just that. I mean, once you have evaluation going, then your playground like lights up too. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So all of that to help you understand not only, hey, am I getting things responded, but as you start to put different things in there that go off the rails, how well do those responses come back?
So just a quick look at what's next, and this should be exciting. I'm pretty sure that next time, which unfortunately won't be tomorrow, so early next week, we will get started on this.
Mm-hmm.
The workshop is backed by a pizza API, an MCP server for that API, and the dashboard that we keep referring to. It is all in, from what I've seen, it's all TypeScript, Node-based. We are .NET developers. We're going to start with the pizza API. That's not, I don't know that that's super relevant for us, although we're going to have a C# version.
Mm-hmm.
So the pizza API will already exist. It'll already be in GitHub. We'll build the MCP server live.
Nice.
And then after that, a Blazor-based dashboard. And we will have a complete end-to-end Pizzabot system, all in C# to companion to the Python and TypeScript stuff that's out there right now. And just keep driving towards this being more of a workshop form, because it's pretty explanatory today. If you go to the repo today, you should be able to use the instructions that are here to do all of this yourself. And eventually I'd like to get a Docker file and stuff in here so that maybe you can do it all in a code space too. But if you joined us live, thank you very much. We definitely worked with Agent Framework today.
Yep.
So appreciate that.
Cool.
And that's it. We went through a lot. I'll have to work on the show title because we did some Agent Framework and then we did some evaluations, and that was really cool. I wonder if maybe even splitting this into 2 smaller videos would be helpful, right? Just one on evaluations. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. All right. So like I said, no show tomorrow. Not that we have a regular schedule, but if in case people, so that way people don't wait with bated breath. But I think next week we will be starting on the Model Context Protocol server, and I'm super excited about that. So
yeah, definitely look forward to that one.
Cool. Well, thank you for walking me through evaluations and once again inspiring us to use AI to generate things for AI so we can test AI with AI.
It's all AI.
All right. Awesome. Again, if you joined us live, thank you very much. If you are watching in the future, besides letting us know how the weather changes, comment down in the description below the description here on YouTube. Hit the like button if you like what we're doing. Yeah. Offer us any suggestions or your experiences with Agent Framework and Foundry. We definitely learn from you as well. Other than that, for Rich, I'm Chris, and we'll see you all next time on the Dev Talk Show.